Hey friends, this is Hardy Quest with Chapel Hill Quest Martial Arts and the Ninja Everyday. And I've got a really cool opportunity I wanted to share with you guys tonight. I had a chance a couple of weeks ago to go visit my teacher, my jiu-jitsu instructor, Professor Roy Dean, and participate in a seminar with him and his instructor, but also witness his most recent test and promotion to his 4th-degree black belt. Professor Dean, thanks for joining us. Could you do a real quick introduction for yourself for those people that maybe follow me from the Toshindo side and not know you so much from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu side?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Hardy. I started my training in martial arts when I was 16 years old. I was sent to Japan as a Rotary exchange student and began training in the arts over there. And then I just continued on that path. Coming back to the US, I got involved in Aikido and then Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and then eventually Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My time in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is something that I've really taken to heart. I've taken it the most seriously of all the disciplines I've been exposed to. And so I've been training in the art for I would say about 25 years now.
So 25 years, and you just tested for your 4th degree. What was the time frame between your 3rd-degree test and your 4th-degree test?
It was typically, although typically there are no tests in between the Dan ranks in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's just kind of a time in service. Um, it was 7 years. I did it in 2015, and we're in 2022. It would have been after 5 years. I'd be eligible for the stripe through the IBJJF. And with COVID and the setbacks we had from that, it was 7 years since I had my last crucible, the last testing under my instructor. And yeah, it was something that I look forward to, but on another level, it's going to be hard.
That's why I wanted to ask you, because again, with my exposure to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's not normal to see, like you said, a Dan ranking test. And a lot of times it's not normal to see a test period. Sometimes people are put through sort of a little gauntlet. Sometimes they walk down the middle of the mat and people hit them with their belt, or sometimes they're promoted on the podium. But why have you created this sort of Roy Dean black belt test that so many people get a chance to see on your YouTube channel? But how did it take the form that it took?
It is definitely not something that I originated. But this format that I provide for my students and affiliates is more of a hybrid of things that I've been exposed to in terms of rank demonstrations and demonstrating skills. Mr. Harris does have tests in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a rare thing. He also had a curriculum, which was a very rare thing. He, coming from a JKD background, was able to kind of see the overlapping themes and strategize in putting together a curriculum based on a foundation of positional escapes that really helps set you up for success in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at a time where it was only random techniques. It wasn't nearly as codified as it is now. So to have him set that for blue belt, and particularly during his international travels, he had a number of people that wanted to be tested for blue belt. So he came up with a standardized curriculum of positional escapes to show submission, sparring, etc. And that really set the tone. So there were tests for me at purple, brown, black, and then every degree of black since. I merely have kind of continued his tradition of having, except for me, it's not really a test. Typically, I know the person's at that level and I give them the option of a demonstration of skill. And most of the people want to do it as a personal challenge, as a professional calling card, as a way of sharing their skills with their loved ones, friends, and family. One of the major reasons that I wanted to do it is because I saw someone get promoted to black belt, and it was within like 2 minutes. And I thought, oh my gosh, that was like 10 years of his life into 2 minutes, and it didn't seem worthy of the effort that he had invested.
You stated that, most people say that they want to go through one of those. And one of our students here at our dojo was asking me when I told him I was going to have a chance to talk to you. And I've had the same question. How do all of your people do such an amazing job? And it's not, we're not blowing smoke with this question, but I will say that I felt like, as for me going through the test, I didn't necessarily want to, but I felt like there was a bar that was set and I needed to do that. But oh my gosh, was it intimidating? Like, just the quality of all of those videos. I've watched them over and over. And initially it probably caused more self-doubt than it did, inspiration. Eventually it got to where I was watching it for inspiration, but at first I was like, I don't know that I'm ready to do that. Is there a secret that you found that allows you to carry these people into these demonstrations where they have such an amazing performance?
Well, I think everyone is inherently a creative individual. They may not know that they have that within them, but I think all of us are the same, and we have that kind of creative intuition, and we get called to action to do certain things and invest ourselves in certain things. So with the belt demonstrations, one, you give people an outline of, a framework. I want to see positional escapes. I want to see side mount escapes. I want to see guard passes. I want to see submissions. I want to see technique combinations. You give them those things as a foundational outline, then they fill it in with their own techniques they're good at, adjacent techniques to the techniques they're good at. So they're building their game out. And then additionally, the incentive structure is aligned in a very wholesome way, where you're not going to get yelled at if you don't do a good job, but you might be disappointed because you have an aspiration. You want to do a great job. So there's like a subtle competitiveness within each practitioner for them to do their absolute best. And I think that is ultimately the kind of the grindstone that really sharpens a blade, their own incentive to honor the art.
I have to agree. Like, my collar chokes in particular got much tighter through the practice of the skills demonstration portion of the test, because I wanted them to crisply go in there for the demonstration. And it translated directly over to, jiu-jitsu when I'm rolling. So yeah, absolutely true. And for those of you that haven't seen Professor Dean's YouTube channel, there's a bunch of test videos up there of several of his students earning different degrees of black belt and different Q level ranks all the way up. So I can't encourage you enough to check those out just to see the quality that we're speaking of. Now, back to your tests in the past, do you have any test experience that like stands out as like a test you remember for a good or maybe not so good reason? Have you had one that you wish you could go back and do again, or man, I wish I could do it like that every time? Or
well, I would say my second degree, the second degree was kind of rough. For some reason, I had my own academy. I was training every day or just about every day. And I felt like I had gained a lot. I had rolled with a lot of people. I had, at that point, kind of like fresh international exposure. So I was training everywhere with a lot of people, but I really did not. I tried to get in shape, but I didn't put in the real effort to get in shape. And on the day of, especially, I did not warm up. I didn't warm up properly. And I think Mr. Harris was even encouraging me. He was like, oh, you really should be doing these kettlebells. Why don't you pick one up right now? I was like, nah, I know all about kettlebells, or whatever I said. And I should have been, because like even in my most recent exam, the 4th degree, he started with a couple of positional escapes, which I didn't know he would ask to see, like any just technical stuff, but he did. In the 2nd degree, it was straight to the meat grinder. It was live mount escapes with the biggest guy in the room right away. and you do a couple mount escapes, couple side mount escapes, before you know it, you're huffing and puffing.
Mhm.
Like, whoa. And you didn't get a warm up, you know, the heart doesn't have a chance to like ease into its new rhythm. So your gas tank really goes down. And I found that as I get older, I can hang with a lot of younger athletes if I get the sufficient warm up.
Mm.
And that particular experience really comes to mind.
So for somebody that's facing a test coming in pretty soon, what would be a warm up that you would suggest? What level of intensity or what sort of things would you focus on doing? An hour before to 30 minutes before the test.
Oh, I would probably have, you know, obviously good night's sleep if you can manage. Um, if you can have kind of a light, familiar breakfast, you know, different fighters have different things: pancakes, oatmeal, you know, some people eat nothing, all whatever your choice happens to be. Um, then I would probably recommend going into a hot tub for at least 15 to 30 minutes, then come out and do like some yoga. Okay, now we're in a good mind state. That how you have all your stuff, you go to the gym, you do some squats, do some bridges, some rolling, you know, making friends with the ground, warm your neck up, push-ups, sit-ups, and break a sweat. And do a couple of rounds, you know, not super hard, but hard enough so that you're actually straining, so that you're actually bringing blood into the connective tissue. And so, I mean, with that kind of routine, you're going to go in, you know, and that's the benefit of experience right there. You know, I look back on my second degree and I was like, no, that's not going to happen again.
Mm. So with the lesson learned from that second degree, was there, what did your pre-test conditioning training look like prior to this last fourth degree test? And for those of you, again, who haven't seen this, the video of the test is up on Professor Dean's channel. And to appreciate the conversation we're having right now, I would suggest you pause this and go over there and watch it, because you could obviously see the pressure Professor Harris was putting in, and we were going. And so what did you do to get ready to handle that? And then the other question: how much time did you have? How soon? How after you learned you were going to test, did the test take place?
I would say I had probably 4 months heads up that I was going to be. I reached out to Mr. Harris. I requested to be able to take it. We made a date in late January. I wanted to coincide with the affiliate retreat. I thought that would be perfect, and on many levels. And then when it came to my preparations, it was really about 3 months out. I had a checklist of things that he wanted. One of those things was side mount escapes. It was phenomenal, everything. So phenomenal side mount escapes into submissions, phenomenal guard control into submissions, phenomenal guard passing into submissions, and then being able to wrestle up and take down an opponent who was disengaging while you were on the ground or in a seated position. So the last one was the trickiest. Side mount escapes, no problem. I do that for fun normally. Guard passing, I definitely put some time in to that. You know, so I would go for a week where I'm just working on side mount escapes, and we reset position, then we go back. You know, depends on the partner, depends on their size, but I would do very specific technical training for those things. When it came to the I had to do a little more experimentation with the disengaging opponent, but those were all kind of tasks I could focus on. In terms of physical preparation, I was lifting weights over the holiday, got back to swinging the kettlebell. Also a lot of isometric stuff, just movement, just knowing you, I want the chassis on my vehicle to be perfectly aligned. You know, that everything goes awry once you're a little bit off center. So really trying to, whether through yoga or any other kind of movements. Also getting on the bike before I would lift weights, do 20 minutes, get that heart up there. I need to get that heart up there, and that heart rate, not pegging it, but just getting the heart muscle used to that transition, because it always comes on a little bit quicker than you expect it to be.
Sure. How do you feel your jujitsu, your expression of jujitsu changed from third degree to fourth degree? And was there a change beyond jujitsu in that transition? Have changes happened in your life or with your personality or the way that you deal with things? Because I've found a lot of times my martial arts is sort of an expression or reflection of where I'm at off the mat as well.
Mhm. Okay, so between third degree and fourth, 7 years. Um, the third degree was right at the end of my run in Bend, Oregon, with my academy. So I had been essentially top dog for a long time. Even though I enjoy improving and studying and evolving, still you are like in an academy, your own academy. So your exposure is a little bit limited in many ways.
Mhm.
So after I sold the academy, someone wrote to me and they said, "Oh, you're going through a Muso Shugyo,
Mm.
kind of the um, knight's errand or a knight's pilgrimage, where you operate without the protection of your school in the general world, take on duels, do different things. You adventure, you explore, you become part of the world." And once I went to I continued to travel, continued to teach, and being at Coachella Valley Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, CVBJJ, the history of that dojo, it's over 30 years old. uh, at the time, like a dozen black belts on the mat. Now there's over 20 black belts on the mat, a variety of skill levels, but then also a variety of body types,
Mm.
like high level Division 1 wrestlers, prison guards, BJJ black belts, and wrestlers, 260 pounds. And it's great that you have the option of going with someone like that, or a purple belt who's like, you know over 250. And then you have like small black belts with incredible guards. So the variety of body types I was able to interact with and continue to refine my own game over those 7 years, I think it made an appreciable difference in the way that I approach the art and the way I apply the art. I learned a lot from Dan and Anthony at CVBJJ. We all came up, we were blue belts together, purple, black belts together, all the degrees. And I've pulled a lot from them, and hopefully I've been able to share a few techniques with them as well.
After your second degree test and it went the way that it went, did that affect your mental state, like post test and then prior to the next test? Did you go into the next test really motivated that it's not going to happen again? Have you ever experienced any pre-test jitters? And do you have anything that you do that sort of helps with you keeping your self-talk on the right path? I know for me, going into my test, I had a fair amount of anxiety, and I say stuff to the students here like, "Oh, when you're nervous, that just means you're excited. You're just thinking about it the wrong way."
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll say stuff like that, and it's easy for me from the outside to say it, but
Right.
somebody going into a test, that there's nerves. Like I've got my teacher there. You had Professor Harris, watching you each time. You did it in front of your affiliates and your students. I've certainly felt the presence of my students here watching me, and you do it in absolute silence. So you can't, you can't hide behind the music or whatever. Is there anything, do the nerves get to you, or is it just a practice to help you be more resilient against that negative self-talk?
Mhm. Well, I think you have been through those uh, internal battles
Mm.
with anxiety and with mental projection of what could happen, what it might happen, what you're going to do, what you'd like to do. All of those things are, um, all of those things take energy. And, over the years, probably my biggest breakthrough was going from blue to purple and realizing that the more I don't think, the better I do. That's still hard to just drop it all. But once I had proven that to myself, I was like, you've put so many hours in, your body knows what to do. Just try to keep your mind out of it. So if I can get to the mat and then just forget about everything, I'll be okay. It's not going to be, I know it's not going to be bad.
Mm.
So, but, and so over, like, in a way, there's a sense of calm, but over the weekend, there were a lot of things happening, a lot of visitors in town, a lot of people coming in, a lot of moving parts. You're getting pinged all the time. People want to get together for, it's just, there's a lot of moving parts, and we all kind of top out. So I was kind of near I was topped out for as far as organizational things and things I could keep on my plate. But I knew once it started, I'd be okay because I put in the hours.
Mm.
I know amongst practitioners I put in, maybe it's not as much as a Gracie who started 10 years before I did, but still it's up there. So in a way, you know 30 years of training, we'll see how it goes.
Trust the process, right?
Trust, yeah, just let it unfold.
Do you have any standout moments from your most recent tests that that got you thinking, or did you have any perceptional shifts? I know when I did my demonstration here, I felt a certain way immediately after it was over, and then sort of felt a little different after I got to see some of the footage. Some of the things I remembered, weren't totally accurate from my perspective, but seeing what the camera saw, changed my mind. Was there anything like that with your test, or any memories that that you see when you close your eyes at night after this last one?
Yeah, so I expected it to be straight to the meat grinder, just like last time. No technical demonstration at all. So when he asked for mount escapes, I did mount escapes, side mount escapes. I did kind of classic number one. And then for number two, I wasn't sure what I was doing. So I kind of off balanced him, and he kind of reacted in not an unnatural way, but he didn't kind of go. So I just improvised and ducked under and then kind of took him down, and it all worked out. It looks great on camera. But that was a total, I was like, well, that was a bonehead move. Oh, not that one, but it ended up being okay. And some of the other, that was fine. There were a couple of other moments in the test. I could feel myself getting tired by the time, like the fifth round. I could feel like, okay, I'm starting to slow down a little bit. I had to kind of bear down, use more of a pressure game. I didn't have the gas tank to do kind of a fast Troyando style. And so, but it's not that bad. I just know, okay, I'm kind of going over the hill here. I'm kind of fading a little bit. I do remember that also under Mr. Harris, like you cannot imagine how bad it is. It's really, and I give a little bit of that to my guys, and I give a little bit to you, and I give enough. I want to hear them, grunt and not be able to escape, and really kind of, but he holds it for minutes. Equal to my maximum pressure that I will put on someone for, maybe 10 seconds. He'll hold that pressure for minutes, and you can't breathe. and yet you're under duress.
Mm.
So you can't expel like the CO2, and you have energy demands that are built in. It creates a not recommended feeling underneath. And then when he does give you a reprieve, you're just trying to come back into a normal headspace. I I do remember, like, my far side Kimura is good.
Mm.
I hit it on a lot of people, and I could not do anything with his arm. And I just remember like I'm kind of in a primitive reptilian brain mindset at the time. I don't have full oxygen capacity, and I want to attack that arm, and I could not move it. I just could not. It was impossible. And things like that. I tried a baseball bat choke. It just would not work. It would not work on him, and it was daunting. At one moment I was like, oh my God, how is this ever gonna? It's a riddle.
Mm.
You don't know how you're gonna finish it because your normal stuff is just thwarted. Yeah, it's amazing the strength. He would hold my sleeve in one palm, like away from him, and I could not get it back. And I'm 200 pounds, right?
Yeah, it was something to watch, and of course you were extremely fatigued as it was going, but I think he described himself that weekend as like a slow moving gray-haired bulldozer or something like that. And it's just absolutely what it looked like. It looked daunting. It looked like a position I did not want to find myself in or underneath. So did he give you what sort of feedback did he give you post test? Did you show the phenomenal escapes to submissions that he was looking for, and did he sort of challenge you with a new trajectory in your training?
He did give me feedback, and he was very happy. He was impressed. He gave me a 95 to 98% for the exam, which I'm overjoyed to hear that. Additionally, there was some feedback for going forward. Number one, when I'm holding down, one of the reasons he's so heavy is he's draping with his head.
Mm.
And I've noticed that there was it's not just holding, it's not just compressing, it's draping so that they can't even begin to get something started. I also noticed in reviewing the footage that he would hold me, like he would pull my arm out of position and hold it. And I'm in like the worst position possible, can't begin to defend myself. I'm extended, I'm crushed, but then also my arm is out of position. It's there's a lot to learn from his positioning, both offensively, and then he uses his defensive positioning to lead into an offense. When he baits me into a triangle, I do not want to do a triangle on him, but he makes it so you can't not do it. That's the only path. And then that's exactly what he wants, which is horrible, right? So it's a very interesting thing, the way he can manipulate you. So I've definitely picked some things up there. Draping my head, also the use of my shoulders and my elbows was additional feedback he gave me. I was doing a lot with my hands, which I do, and I actually think I do quite a bit with my elbows and shoulders, but I could do more. And I wasn't really showing it, so I'm glad he brought that up.
Is there a new thing that you're excited about for this next bit of your jiu-jitsu journey? People talk about, I really want to get good at my escapes, or I really want to get good at my submissions, or really want to dial in my pressure. Is there something as tangible as that you could describe for the level you're at, for the place you're going in your journey?
I would say a little bit of all of the above. I feel like, okay, I could, from, at this point, it's still chipping away at it, but I can shift my focus. I'm pretty good with pressure, but I definitely want to be dropping the head and draping over them. And I would like to work more escapes, particularly back escapes, but I don't need to kill myself because I do have some things worked out. Um, Nothing feels like an emergency. Everything feels like um, kind of a fun educational luxury, which is a nice place to be. I'm not feeling a lot of pressure, but that's some of the best positioning you can have when it comes to learning something.
Sort of free to explore and, pick up new things. Like the lack of pressure is an interesting freedom, and sometimes pressure is an interesting motivation. I guess it's just how you frame it in your mind. Um,
Absolutely. And you can always work on takedowns. I mean,
yeah, for sure. Well, what's in store for the immediate future for you? Do you any events, any trainings coming up, any life changes happening that you want to let folks know about?
oh my gosh, I am headed to Wisconsin in March.
Okay.
And then after Wisconsin, I'm going up to Grapplers Retreat
Mhm.
in April, and I'm going to go out to Vancouver in May, and then in June, I might actually host a seminar with Jeff Glover
Oh, wow.
up in Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay. Yeah, save me a
So
spot on that one.
yeah, yeah, that should be good. So we're working that out, and yeah, I have plenty of other projects and courses that I have lined up for this year. So I think it's going to be a good year on the media front for sure. Also, the Money on the Mat documentary I did with Jeff Glover, I've submitted that to several different film festivals. We'll see. I'm avoiding putting it online because they really want to be a genuine premiere.
Mhm.
So I think doing that is kind of expanding my skill set and challenging me in a different way.
If people want to stay plugged into all that you've got going on, what are some of the best channels? How do they find you on social media? How do they find your website? And what sort of
Mm.
stuff do you have for them?
RoyDean.tv for the main website. Roy Dean on YouTube, Roy Dean _ on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as well. And yeah, it's all about putting jiu-jitsu in the best light possible. And I've been trying to do that for a long time. Um, and it's nice to have guys like you on my team to help spread that vision.
I truly appreciate it. You do exactly that. The grace and the dignity that you hold all of the art up as a whole is so appreciated. And again, if you're somebody that is watching this because you know me and you're not familiar with these channels he's talking about, please do yourself a favor and check these out. Anything that you want to leave us with before we wrap this up?
Um, just want to talk about, the importance of uplifting what your instructor requires. I am in the IBJJF, like time in service kind of mode. You can do that. I could have gotten my 4th stripe through the IBJJF just automatically, but it's a testament to my teacher that if that's what he wants, then that's what I'm going to do. And I don't require that from my guys, but I think it's Mr. Harris gave me one really good piece of advice when I started. He said he said 2 things. 1, you're going to be more successful than you think. 2, lead by example. But the thing is, you don't have to always get on the competition stage to lead by example. There's many different ways. And hopefully that was one way in honoring my teacher's wishes that I was able to to do that.
Absolutely. I appreciate all that you're doing for the team. I'm so happy to be part of it and appreciate what you do for jiu-jitsu, the art as a whole. And again, if you haven't checked out Roy Dean's YouTube channel and roydean.tv, do yourself a favor and check those out. Professor, I appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. We'll get this up on our YouTube channel. And until next time, everybody, we'll see you on the mat.